And I came to terms with what happened there. I can see a little more clearly now the perspective all of you took. I don't agree with you. And to me, it was an unwise decision. But that shouldn't mean that I should undermine your guys' choices too. I was hurt. I care deeply for the lands, as all of you know. And I had a lot of thoughts of Kudo that I maybe should have voiced sooner. But in the end, Kudo may make rash decisions. And he may do things that are unseemly. But he's a man who is willing to do what needs to be done. And I can see that. I think to simply walk away would be childish. He put something that he loved and cared about into my charge. So now, I'm going to make him face the same choice that he made. Now something that I love and care about is in his charge. And he must take the responsibility to care for it. He may have a separate approach from what I do. But it's not going to stop what I've done from the beginning. Just trying to be a guide for all of you. I don't care what power Kudo holds. He's not going to stop me from giving him advice. Same for all of you. I'm not just going to abandon you. We're all faced with very hard decisions to come. But I think we should still face it. As a group. As a family. And in the end, I'm not going to let Kudo be correct about what he thought of my feelings. What I feel doesn't make me weak. It makes me strong. It's given me the strength to get this far. And it's given me the strength to keep you guys going this far as well. So I won't walk away.
Spit suddenly, lunges forward and just, grabs a hold of you and, picks you up. And
I pat Spit's back.
And you can just see, Spit's muzzles are like angle irons, just completely as if he's paralyzed, And despite, not, putting enough pressure to hurt you, you can just feel that, every muscle in Spit's body, it's, locked up.
I lay a hand on the side of Spit's head, and I look him in the eyes and I say, you still have a very, very deep lesson to learn, Spit. You need to find not only the strength of body, but the strength of will. I understand you don't want to lose me and those that you love. But if it's our choice, then you need to have the strength to stand by us. Me and Sophie, we're making decisions that it may change our lives. And there is a possibility that we could be separated. But it's our choice, Spit. You can't take that from us.
He spits slowly, kind of sets you back down. He looks at you and he doesn't say anything, but you can just see on his face it's a storm of emotions. There's relief, but it quickly gives kind of way to a deep confliction. You can see the gears turning in Spit's head as he considers what you're saying and what ultimately you mean. But that is for Sierra to voice, not for me. So Spit's gonna think about that for a while, as I'm sure he probably would. I probably forgot to mention. Yeah, I definitely did. I meant to right before I got up. I meant to say that Soren was gonna take off before this whole thing, just to go report back his findings and have a conversation with his superiors, basically. I guess he probably could have been persuaded to hold off, but assuming that none of you guys needed him for anything, we're just gonna pretend that happened. Sorry, guys. The whole power outage thing. I think there was a power outage in my brain. So, but yeah, it wouldn't have been like particularly a long goodbye. He would have just been like, I expect to see you again soon, but for now I should go and report my findings. It does seem like this might have actually solved the problem in her case. I don't think it's an option for most, but it is potentially useful information. So I'll go see what my superiors make of it. Suddenly, at the mention of his superiors, you see him kind of like get, he just sort of stares at a spot on the ground, and you can see his posture become a little more like rigid. He's kind of like slightly hunched forward, and you could just see his teeth grinding a little bit. Anyway, I will depart. And he rolls up some of the scrolls that he had been chalking on to his little waterproof case. He says, I will see you all again soon enough. Oh, and congrats on your friend and everything. Okay, tough crowd. I guess it's
Bye, Soren.
too soon.
Wait, before you go, Ash, take his soul.
Take my soul.
No.
Not sure what good it would be to you. It's quite aged and weathered. It has a lot of city miles on it. Sorry. Oh. Your mildly insane friend here seems to understand my humor.
I feel like Drog has just turned into Deadpool.
Honestly, I could get down with that. Yeah.
His mind has been shattered, and now he can see the fourth wall.
Deaden.
Well, he does have that condition where he doesn't die. He just gets
Dead
Dead
nerves.
Dead nerves, but it's like running out, I think.
It is. It was always supposed to be
Oh my god.
a taper off as he came back to, but then he sort of didn't come back to, and it just still has it. But anyhow.
Dog fool.
So with that, Soren will depart. Fast forward to what Lynn has just been discussing here. Aura may sort of respectfully giving some space here. And having watched this exchange, you can just see from the look on her face, it's sort of putting two and two together. She looks very troubled by what she's hearing. But what she comes out with eventually to say, rather than the many thoughts that you can kind of, read from her demeanor, like, well, she's, seeming very conflicted and everything. But rather than voice any of that, what she says in her sort of, broadcast telepathy is, I wasn't sure that I would see you again. I'm glad you're here.
I wasn't sure either, but in the end, I think I am too. But, and he looks to the rest of the animals that are gathered around him. We those of us that covet nature, who truly have love for it, there will be a transition.
What the fuck? Hold on. I'm sorry. What the fuck?
It's breaking in. Beat him up, Trevor.
Yeah, no.
Oh, it's fine. The blind was down over my window, so I was pretty sure that no bird would just go flying right into it. Boy, was I wrong. A clear window.
He'll do that anyways, yeah.
A clear window, sure, but no, he just ran right into what should have looked to him like a sheer wall. But nope, just smacked right into it. It's fine. Sorry to interrupt.
It's important.
The beast lands are
Birds
really
killing
fucked up,
themselves. Yeah.
The birds even are trying to commit suicide. Some of them cannot cope.
But Lynn says there'll be a transition. The god that Mia was, god that Gudo will become, will be different. Mia had a very tempered soul. And vast knowledge of the wilds before she became a god. Kudo, his transformation will be a little bit different. There won't be as balanced. We're going to have to help with that.
There is a great quiet over the crowd here. And as they sort of start to, softly communicate, not, just among each other, trying to keep a respectful, but people sort of, including these intelligent animals, sort of can't help but to sort of chatter and try and figure out amongst themselves what they think is going to happen. And as that's sort of happening, Armea just, to you, Lynn says, looking at the place, like a wildfire. That's the full sentence she says, but she kind of says it like, I had to use that phrase, like a wildfire.
Yeah. There'll be some destruction, but ultimately in the end, think there will be growth that will come from it.
She kind of like leans her head into your arm, you know, just a kind of a reassuring to you or to her. It, like, what is the intention? Maybe both, but just kind of reaching out to like make contact with someone when you're not, when you're, you know, not feeling that things are gonna go okay. But she says, "I know that you're right." The sun will rise. All we can do is take care in the night. You can see.
But she feels that way. Sled is not 100% sure.
Again, who knows? Maybe Lynn is, after his ordeal, is so shaken up that he's sort of projecting his own interior onto the outside. But no, she doesn't seem like that certain. More like somewhere between. It must be true. She sort of understands it to be true in a sort of a logical way. But you also get the sense that this is her sort of trying to make her peace with it. And, in a sense, sort of hype herself up. Not hype herself up. Maybe give herself resolve. Okay. A little late to the party. Oh, it just popped up for me. No, it says it was posted at 4:20. I'm a little late to the party.
What, the fake it till you make it?
No,
No, the dog pool.
dog pool.
Dog pool.
It just popped. It literally
Dog
made
pool.
a noise. It made a noise like boop, and then I looked,
Oh.
and it actually was at 4:20. Of course.
Yep.
That's weird.
So anyhow, with this, you can sort of see the crowd kind of dispersing. They're really not supposed to be here, to be honest, but things have been so shaken up. And I don't mean not supposed to be here like, it is banned, it is sacrosanct. Just respectfully, you know, when you go over someone's house, you don't like immediately go into their bedroom. It's not, they might not care, but you still just kind of don't do it, you know? In that same sort of way, mostly they have stayed clear of this place. And there will come a day probably where they can't actually find it unless sort of invited there. Vampires of the group. But you know what I mean. So, as the crowd disperses, just Aramea seems to... no, honestly, she would linger for a little while, but I think she would also would leave. Like, this is... They can watch from outside. This is a place that should have some privacy, as this new god, you know, grows into itself.
I'm glad you came back, Lynn. Galen kind of a little bit more gently hugs you than Spit did. I spoke a little hastily, but your words hit like a hammer. I didn't consider things from your perspective. My attachment to gods has always been a little bit at the end of my reach. And I'm sorry.
You see, like, kind of like a weight lift off of Lynn a little bit. Thank you.
And if I'm being completely honest, I was being a little selfish. I've really come to appreciate your unique perspective on life and the wisdom that it has afforded you. And I did not want to give that up.
I had wondered about that. That in some of your hearts it was difficult. Give me up. I knew it was in Spitz, but it warms me to hear that from you, daily.
Ash will just pipe up from the ether and just be like, yeah, I guess we kind of got used to having you around, and it's not something that I say to very many people, but it's not like we need you, but
But
it would be off without you. Yes, I think, call it selfish if you must. I've never really claimed to be otherwise, but it's been nice having you here, and it's nice having you back.
Lynn, like, as they're like standing outside of this fortress, like Lynn looks over to where this like almost cocoon flytrap is growing, and he says, honestly, it's the one thing that I found most odd in the time that I took. I think it'll be hard for Kudo not to be here too. He tempered me, in a way. It's in the end, I don't think either of us were wrong, but neither of us were right. I think there's a balance that has to be struck between both of our viewpoints. And I'm going to try to keep the lessons that he has taught me to heart.
God, I wish Ube was here.
He completely undercut the moment with his Jersey accent.
Be like, yeah, lessons like, don't turn your back on Kudo, cocksucker. I don't know that it's Jersey. That's a pretty unique, like, he's like a Joey Diaz ripoff.
Fine. Drog will be that then, and he'll say something more. I don't really know who is right or wrong here. But what I do know is when you sacrifice yourself by staring down an ice dragon, you sometimes make the wrong decision when you think you're making the right one.
Good fucking memory, Duncan. Jesus. That was real years ago.
I remember how Drog killed himself.
Oh, no. Hold on, wait. He ended up getting taken away by Caloril, but he was at some point definitely like, no, I'm not leaving Brashmorg. I'm just let the dragon come up.
And then, I mean, he was given 2 calories, I thought, on a silver platter or something.
Hold on. That was
I think it was one of
Caloril that showed up?
Caloril's. No, I think it was one of Caloril's offspring.
Or daughter?
What I mean
I
is
thought
that
no, because I thought he wanted to stay at his fortress before Workapesh showed up.
yeah, but eventually once he talked to him, he ended up actually leaving. But
Okay.
if you will recall, it was at the gate that the Blackfoot was trying to open up on Acropolis that you guys actually lost Drog and Eldene. Eldene closed the gate from the inside with that sick natural 20 Warhammer smash type moment, and then, as if to just shit all over any moment of decency, in came a giant black dragon, threatened Ash, saying, 1 year, don't forget. And then, as a little insurance, took Drognan.
Yeah, fine.
Who,
Yeah, fuck that guy.
it was always,
Regardless,
everyone was always like, why Drognan? Just to pull the curtain back, I literally thought, he's the only one with any rank or title. So, I guess he's the most important. But, yeah, maybe Ash didn't.
I guess this was before Ash became queen.
Yeah,
All
was it
those
that?
events took place while we were. It was like almost immediately following that.
Yeah, was that weird
Good.
gray area after Airbrath died?
Yep, fine. Well, the statement still stands.
Weren't we looking
Some-
for the one? Can't I remember his name? Riven.
That did take place for a while, but you guys didn't
Gressus.
actually know that yet. So,
No, Gressus was before that.
Gressus was right up till then. Literally, Gressus dying. Goodbye, Tyler and Jen.
Yeah.
And then were the rumors of the fog that ate your fucking skin off that you guys went to go investigate. And that kind of started you down the whole Riven path. But anyway, we're kind of getting off topic.
Yes.
Now that
Regardless,
What a nice flashback episode.
Mhm.
Yeah, where the creators are like, oh shit, this show has been running for like 6 years and we never back reference anything. We better just have 40 minutes of like epileptic seizure inducing flashbacks. And then 3 episodes later conclude the show. So, now that Lynn has rejoined the group, and I'm sure that this is not the last that we'll ever hear of this stuff. But what is the plan now, my friends?
Are we just gonna keep waiting until this
Waiting.
weird plant egg hatches?
Okay.
I'm sorry. What came first, the god or the plant egg?
100% meatless. Beyond egg. D&D Beyond egg. No, wait, sorry. That just kept getting more and more dense. We really should have an inside joke that's so dense that no one outside the group can even have it explained to them why it's funny. Even
We
in
have
like...
one. Despise Gelf.
Yeah, despise Gelf.
Yeah, but that can actually be... there is a spell
That
called
or-
Disguise Self that I kept fucking
That
up.
or Muffy Muffs and the Muffs.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's like a whole like
You're
you
right.
can't even really describe that. It's just like it happened. We
Arguably,
don't know how.
arguably superseded the SAS as the official group name, and what a fucking
and
experience
we got away with horses.
to have.
Yeah.
What an experience to have your universe saved by a group of people called Muffy Muffs and the Mufflers.
Oh no, wasn't it like Muffy Muff and the Tufts or something like
Oh
that?
yeah,
I
Muffy
don't
Muff and
know.
the Tufts. You're right. You're right. Although mufflers, what do? They reduce the noise of the car running. The SAS, see, noise, sneaky. It's all continuity here, people. Okay, so. Oh, I just saw your nickname change.
Dude, you saying that gave me a fucking internal good laugh. He's nature Jesus.
Well, people, the animals were literally like crowding you, like, fuck, what's the word? Like, help, staying with you on your journey as if, you know, like Forrest Gump or something. When he goes on that
The
huge run.
fucking
it's like-
Lawrence. He speaks for the trees.
I do like that it's with an E, though, which implies that his story is incredibly deep. Okay, so whiling away the time beneath the this. I'm really trying not to call it an egg now, but you know, sometimes in life you have to admit defeat. L and W both appear in the alphabet once each, so that means mathematically that 50% of your life you're going to be taking L's. So this is one of mine. You can quote me on that. L and W appear once each.
Name of this episode: Plant Eggs and the Return of Nature Pieces.
Hold on. Let me wave at my camera for a couple of seconds so that when I'm scrolling by, I can remember this part for the name. Listen to this. Okay, when I'm scanning with the mouse, I'll be able to find this part, and in case I forget what to name the episode. Vegan eggs and the return of nature. Jesus. What is my
this
entire life?
game?
Okay. As you, while away your time beneath the egg, or just in the grove around it, you can see that slowly over time, a little bit of life returning to the surrounding areas, slowly growing out. It will take a long time, probably, to undo the damage that has been done here. And always, you can see that that which grows here keeps a certain distance from that salted land left behind by the absence of the Blackfoot's influence here. But even as it grows and changes, you get the sense, although things are growing rapidly, that not much changes within the egg. Like, I mean, of course it's a plant with no determinate life cycle or anything. But although the area around is developing, this cocoon is seeming to stay pretty stable. Day after day, the changes are extremely minute, if they can be noticed at all. Until finally a message arrives to Ash. a sending of a sort. It is it has the familiar sort of feel of Soren, a message from Soren. So, you're able to recognize it at least. And in so many words, it says, I hate to pull you from what you're doing, but there is something that has come up. You should get here. He probably wouldn't say you, he'd probably say all of you should get here urgently. He says, after a long sleep, the Shrine of Sacred Six may be about to wake. You get the impression that with the limited, bandwidth, shall we say, of this kind of magic, it is basically vagueness is sort of his only thing to fall back on.
I'll relay the message to the rest of the party. I think we're being summoned.
Well, if we're being summoned, we should go.
Well, what are our concerns here? I mean, it's kind of been confirmed that the egg will be mostly safe. It's, I mean, it's just a fight between the other two gods now. And we presumably we all have been here for a second, so should be close. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if the other gods come messing about anyways, all it's gonna do is piss whatever's in there off. And if some part of it is still Kudo, that's probably not gonna end well for the other gods.
Yeah, agreed.
Kudo just becomes the pantheon.
Doesn't need full gestation. I think even popping right out of the womb, Kudo was fighting.
He really is taking on more of the nature aspect in this role, and so he's got that kind of like mama cub or mama bear defending her cubs, and you woke me up from my goddamn hibernation thing going on.
It's not like, yeah, I don't care about the Cubs. You woke me up.
What the man got to do to get a nap around?
You know how hard I've been adventuring for years.
I
This is the
haven't
first
slept.
good sleep I've gotten in a while. Shut
All
the
right.
fuck
Well,
up,
I mean,
Trevor.
if this egg is like in the center of this fortress with a bunch of unicorns surrounding it,
Should be safe.
but they can't operate the portcullis. They have no thumbs.
That's what you think. Unicorns can do crazy shit, man. Alright. I say we go.
All right.
It saddens me not to be able to speak to whatever Kudo has become right after coming out of that, but I have a feeling that it will understand my intentions, as Miyuki did.
And so,
Good question, Trevor.
Oh, good.
In that day, did Mia come to consciousness at all?
What was
Was
it?
she still unconscious when I left?
She seemed not so much unconscious, more like comatose. She seemed healthy in terms of like not malnourished, and her breathing was steady. You know, she was sort of strong. But you kind of got the impression from the couple of days that it would be something of a lasting unconsciousness. But
But I figured.
it has to end sometime, I suppose. So then, we depart for the shrine,
The infinite staircase.
which really all I'm doing is just routing you guys as many times as possible through the infinite staircase so as to trigger more of this. Hold on. Infinite staircase.
Did I ever notice what was different with the moon, too?
Oh. Right, I forgot that you showed up. Although in the Beastlands in general, it's always kind of, you know, the sun is low, so the moon can usually sort of be seen, just not very strong. But its color in Miyuki's Grove, you would have noticed upon, you know, making your way beyond the entrance to her borders. Its color has shifted somewhat, not distinctly. Perhaps a few tones, slightly darker shade, like a moon caught in a lunar eclipse, but just faintly so. Giving off the very, very slight red of a weak sunset, perhaps. And as well, it also seems to shine bright enough that Miliki's Grove is almost a bit brighter than the places around it. Not by the sun, but by the presence of the moon. You would have also noticed, Lynn, the heightened concentration of certain semi-nocturnal to nocturnal predatory animals hanging around in Miliki's Grove as of recently, and more arriving as the days pass. Particularly some fucking vicious-looking dire wolves. You've noticed a few of. And of course, through, overhearing a little chatter here and there, you would have heard that there is some kind of creature which is haunting the outside of the places most destroyed by Miliki's rebirth. Oh. It is a creature which, although having the basic appearance of a lumberjack, its face is that of a skeletal giraffe. No,
that is something from Africa that Kaylee she was like, hey, you should put this on for the rest of the session, and I was like, I don't know if this is gonna fit.
Otherwise, I'd love to, honey. But yeah, no, a beast that haunts the sort of outskirts of Miliki's realm, where it has been destroyed. From a vague description, it sounds like some kind of humanoid wolf, or perhaps a shapeshifter of some size and power. It hasn't seemed to attack anything as of yet, but it keeps its distance, apparently.
Gotcha. It's interesting. The job of the druids might become kind of opposite. We might have to help keep balance from nature into the civilized lands.
As nature just completely takes back over, which ultimately is what Gressus was trying to do. So, in a way, if Gressus
achieved his goals,
maybe if he didn't do all that stuff, this wouldn't have happened. And anyway, then who wants to roll for a random encounter on the staircase?
I'll do it this time.
All right, right on. And high or low? Something bad will happen on whatever opposite one.
High.
Well, not necessarily something bad. Okay, so if you get high, nothing happens. You get
Woof.
Oh.
No, it's the infinite staircase. Remember.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping if I put enough 1% together, we could eventually hit another, like, gnomes or something.
Yeah, I want to see the gnomes coming back from their vacation.
It would be fucking hilarious if you roll all the same shit, though. Just what are the odds that on this infinite plane with limitless doorways, it's like...
What is it, a D100, D100, D100?
It's a 1 in 10,000, and then, yeah, I guess...
Literally 1 in a million.
Alright, everyone, let's go play the lotto.
So you guys, as you're passing, come across a stagnant, by stagnant I mean like it's kind of jelly-ish. It's kind of coagulated. Just a pool of blood. Like the kind that would come out of a person if they took a fatal wound to the chest or something. And you see no body, nor do you see any tracks or any sign of a struggle or like any artifact of any kind other than just some slightly off blood that's kind of starting to, squishify, which is disgusting, and we will move on with that. So
Makes me think of Kudo.
it is actually a
That's
sign.
exactly what I was thinking.
It is an omen. Nothing makes me miss Kudo more than a pool of very stale, stagnant, coagulated blood in the middle of.
Here right now, he'd be licking this.
He'd be like, "Oh, look, jelly."
What a treat.
Pudding. Yeah.
Does anyone have any strong vodka? Let's do some gelatin shots. Okay. It's cool. It disinfects itself. No, don't worry about it. It's fine. So, having made your way through the staircase, you once again find your way to the Astral Sea, where, following your feet, you come to the great shrine of Sacred Six, caught in its perpetual storm of the elements around, the tornadoes which seem to kick up, set on fire, and literally burn themselves out, lightning cracking in the sky, and waves caught in the Astral Sea. This infinite still plane of a water-like substance, which around the shrine dimples and puckers like frozen waves. So, having made the journey, you make your way to the large glass front facade of this place, taking care to, mostly avoid the flaming tornadoes that rip around the place. And finding your way once again to the gates, you feel the outreaching psychic presence of something, as you did before. It sort of seems to ask the same sort of question, like, who are you and why are you here? But it's more like in a sort of a probing way, and seeming satisfied with the sort of feeling that it gets back, the gates open. And it's very sparse on the inside of the courtyard of this glass fortress. You can see the presence of the few scattered celestials and devils guarding the gates here. They don't look particularly on any more high alert than usual, but they seem to be the only ones outwardly visible in the courtyard. Those other strange characters that you came across during your previous visits are, who knows, somewhere else. But upon stepping into the courtyard, as the gates close behind you, you feel a kind of, again, a slight psychic connection. Like a vague clairvoyance in your mind, a sense of direction, calling you to where you are expected. Toward one of the, actually, I guess it is the only one. There are, as you saw last time, these 6 sort of hexagonal towers that make up, the only sort of buildings here. But at the center is, one dominant one at the geometric center of everything. And you feel a pull in this direction, a kind of a slight mental guidance, like a prickling of the hairs on your skin in the presence of static electricity, kind of giving you that gentle nudge in that direction.
I'm sure we'll follow.
As you come to a face of the tower, to which there appears to be no sort of entrance of any kind, as you've seen, similar technology, if you will, at work. But having arrived at the face of it, and now no longer having that sort of pull from the ether, the presence that occupies this place, like some petty god, of just this tiny divine realm. But you see a seam form in the face of it, and like air being released, and the wall taking on this highly complicated, like almost headache-inducing geometric pattern, begins to sort of fold away in a sort of an uneven fashion, like the door doesn't so much roll away as it sort of just seems to, in tiny sections, disappear into itself. It's a little nauseating to watch due to how, overwhelmingly interdesigned it is. You sort of can't follow any pattern to its edge. It just sort of an infinitely, spiraling group of hexagonal kind of, interlocking pieces. But on the inside of this is it's sort of a thin strip of a room that seems to carry around, not so much circular, but like clearly following the inside of the tower. So a really thin strip, like a 6-foot wide room that runs around the interior of the tower before there's like more just sort of opaque glass material on the inside. And there you can see Soren has sort of been left on his own. And he seems tense. He's sat forward. He's clearly in thought. He's fidgeting when you get there, which from your several, I don't know, weeks maybe with him, he's generally speaking just kind of sitting. Like he doesn't need to seem to occupy himself with anything. Unnaturally still is how I would maybe describe him. At the moment, he is noticeably fidgeting. And at your arrival, he quickly kind of stands up and a little too quickly perhaps, and straightens himself somewhat absent-mindedly and says, "Okay, good. I'm glad that you made it. I hope your friend is well and everything. Something is happening, which I'm not sure how to describe. Strictly speaking, very few people would even be aware that it is a change. But I was not speaking figuratively when I said that the Shrine of Sacred Six is waking up. He kind of like pauses for a moment and looking over his shoulder as if at something behind him. I don't have time to explain all of that. Visk wants to talk to you. He is other than Hexanimus. He is at the top of all of this. As he's starting to say this, the same sort of mind, like, numbing, not mind numbing, like, headache inducing door opening starts to happen on the inside of the tower. But as it starts to happen, he says, all I can ask is that you do your best to follow what he's trying to tell you and be respectful and really, really pay very close attention. He does not repeat himself, by which I mean I think he is actually incapable of repeating himself. And don't...
What's his name?
Visk. He's a mind flayer, or was.
All right. Sweet death to my enemies.
So,
just kidding.
The door finishes opening, and he says, "I guess it's time. I hate being rushed into these things. Come on, let's go." Again, before your eyes is like a series of these sort of doors opening concentric, more thin hexagonal strips of the building. You pass by in total 4 more barriers of this nature that are all opening their way ahead of you until you reach a room which is quite small and odd. It's a hexagonal shape, so it's sort of awkward to find like a place to obviously stand. But Lynn, you can't help but notice that the dimensions of the room, like something about them, you're not sure at first why, but something about the dimensions of the room sort of make you feel maybe claustrophobic, and like there's something that you should understand but don't. I literally don't know how, as a person, to tell you more about this, because I don't think Lynn would really have a good understanding as to why any of this. It just kind of does. So inside the room, there is a fairly simple setup. For one thing, there is what appears to be a solid hexagonal column at the center of it. Quite small. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe if you had like 4 normal human beings, you could like join arms and wrap around the pillar and touch on the other side, you know? So like, I guess that's a pretty big pillar, but and set around this area it is completely barren with the exception of this small like on the floor in front of the column, of which you cannot see all of them, but presumably there must be more like around the other side of the pillar. But it's each corner, shall we say, of the pillar, there are like artifacts. I say this to say that they're each sort of not uniform. They're weird little individual things. One of which you notice the presence of a skull, very similar looking to the one that you guys found while in the low road. Like clearly of the same species or whatever as the one you found. And as well on another corner you see like a small rod seemingly made of the same kind of glass material that makes up the rest of the building as far as you can tell. And then presumably there's more stuff on the other side. But sitting at a perfect like angle into a corner of the room in front of where this skull is sat, you can see a humanoid figure. It's kind of hard to tell how tall he is because he's sort of knelt down, but with just a hood thrown over his head as if to keep off the rain. But there it kind of rises itself up off the ground in a weirdly fluid way, kind of unnatural to the way a human body is supposed to move. And turning in your direction, you can see the tentacled face of... I don't know if any of you guys have seen a Mind Flayer as your characters. I'm sure you guys know what they look like. But what looks like...
Yeah, we did. We had the dealings with them.
Those were not living, though. They were undead Mind Flayers. But thank you for reminding me. Certainly, you recognize the basic layout, although this thing is not, decaying around the sides, although it does look sort of an odd splotchy color. Like, it's mostly purple-ish, but it's got some, like, splotchy pink lines of like, lightness of its skin in sort of odd places. Its eyes... It feels a bit... I don't want to say unnerving, because unnerving to your characters is probably a pretty tough ask after everything you've been through, but just sort of almost physically uncomfortable to be looked at by this thing. Like as if it was subtly stabbing you with like a pin or something gently while staring at you. And it sort of has no eyelids or anything, so it just stares at you unblinking with these eyes. And for a while, it doesn't seem to do anything else.
Drog tries to not blink as well. Although he probably fails and says, "You're good."
So I say this to say, Soren kind of like seems to be like, as the silence settles over the room, Soren just kind of like gives you the slightest look of just like, this is what's supposed to happen or something like that. And slowly you can feel this like kind of staticky feeling in the room. You know, your hair is slightly raising, and a kind of a slight pressure begin to form on your forehead. And the room almost seems to get like closer a bit. And you can hear this slowly rising noise in your mind that is a little bit, it kind of makes your brain itch. So while that's happening, I need a second. If you guys want to take 5 while imagining that your brains are slowly being tickled uncomfortably with a feather. Sorry, it's the best timing that I could hope for. But I'll be back in like 5 minutes. I do apologize.
Good old illicits. We love illicits.
Do we? Do we? I'm forced to deal with one, I guess I could deal with it. I got as far as to write like a new character. Like I had made a completely new character, backstory and everything. And I was just like,
I was trying to
something about this don't feel right.
I was trying to convince Trevor to run a session for just you on Saturday nights. And I was like, you know, I came up with this whole compelling argument. I was like, because I'm working on this like completely custom campaign that's kind of like that in the same universe or like sphere, if you think about it in Spelljammer terms.
Yeah.
Like it's a different planet.
Yeah, but in the same, yeah.
But it's like in the same kind of galaxy that this
Yeah.
version of Coral or whatever is. And it's got like all these people, and I have the big bad figured out and everything. And I had all these characters that I've worked on so far, and I was like, you know, I could just kind of take some of these guys, retune them, because the whole timey-wimey things did not play out the way that they were supposed to in like the main timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I could just give Trevor this cast of characters, because if this is happening here, it stands to reason it's happening there, if it exists.
Yeah.
So like, I was like, I'm gonna give Lynn some buddies.
The character that I wrote, I hope that Trevor uses, because I think it is a very interesting, compelling character that genuinely has like ties to like some of the stuff going on right now.
Yeah. Well, I saw the stats you rolled, and then I saw the HP, and I was like, yeah, he's probably gonna make a Blade Singer. I mean, they weren't bad stats. You had a 16.
They were good stats, genuinely. It wasn't a Blade Singer though. It's a divination wizard.
Oh my god. Let's just guarantee this shit's going to either happen or not happen.
I sat there and I thought, like, what character would make the most sense to be tied into this? Someone who can see the future. Obviously, they're going to be heavily impacted by everything that's going on, and probably a very essential part to, like, the story of, like, what is going to happen with all this.
Yeah.
And I've written up a divination wizard 3 separate fucking times, dude. I've wanted to play one, just each time I get it, I end up not being able to use it.
Didn't you play one in Tyler's campaign for a little while?
Yeah, I played one in Nathan's one of his campaigns as well, but I died at like level 3. And then Tyler's, I just wasn't able to swing.
I mean,
It has a place in my heart.
yeah, I enjoyed Tyler's campaign setting. Crib will always be. He will always be like.
Can be quite
It will always have a
strenuous.
dear place in my heart because that was like the first actual.
I'm told speaking with me
I wanna
can
say-
be quite strenuous.
Like campaign character that I created.
I'm told
Yeah.
speaking with me can be quite strenuous. Divine Hexanimus.
And I was just like, let's
is
make.
undertaking the
Trevor told me he was like,
ritual
everybody in our
of
party's
rebirth.
squishy, and I was like, okay, so I'm playing Paladin.
Okay. I am back. Is everyone else back?
Yeah.
I'd be here.
Oh, Duncan's out there walking around in the background. That's alright, he's only drunk. No, he can hear us.
He can hear you.
Alright. So this noise that slowly builds eventually reaches something in your mind that you can understand. Maybe. We'll see.
I am Zisk Once Flayer, Conduit Sacred 6. Listen close and do not attempt to resist me. I mean no harm to you. You must be made ready.
There's a long pause. First of all, can you guys actually hear what I'm saying? I know this is kind of... Okay.
Yeah, I could understand it.
Divine Hexanimus is undertaking the ritual of rebirth. It falls to me to lead. I consult his dead clone when the path is unclear.
There's another long pause.
Direct communion with Hexanimus is what led to the death of all 11 of my kin, leaving only myself freed from my elder brain. I was forever changed, my brain never the same, Sacred 6 implanted on all my synapses. I am told speaking with me can be quite strenuous.
There's another long pause.
So we use another way.
Again, there is another long pause. You can just see Soren kind of like clenching a little bit. And he looks briefly to whoever are like the two people standing nearest them and goes, I hope you have a strong stomach. Or rather, like, I hope you have a strong stomach. Best to just let it happen. And you could feel this noise slowly getting louder. Sort of takes to a crescendo until, like a dam breaking, you feel this like intense pain reach your head. Can I get all of you to make intelligence saving throws?
Oh God.
You have a bonus from Dalen.
Hooray!
That's
I
a magic
really hope
effect.
a 17 passes.
Huh?
What's the bonus
wait.
from Dalen? Is it +6?
It's
Yeah.
it's +5.
+5.
Hold on. I got something for this. Can we see something that's about to happen? Like, do I have time
Fuck.
to do an action?
You could probably feel its presence coming. Why?
Okay.
Fuck.
I'm going to cast Watcher's Will on everybody. Like,
Right.
on. I could do 5 people and myself. So
That's everyone here.
Strogden. Yeah. Okay. So I get everybody. You have advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saves.
Thank fuck.
Which
Alright,
perfectly,
so that's
you're
15
basically
plus.
creating a minor hive mind, which perfectly integrates
That's
to what's
better.
happening. So 20,
So
17,
so what's
20.
it's +5 or +4?
It's +5
Okay, so 20 then.
for now.
Okay. Ironically, Dalen might be the one that gets the worst end of this. I'll roll for spit. Hold on.
Which is it figures because I have a -1 intelligence mod. My only saving grace is charisma. I should really read that Tome of Clear Thought.
But this, so you don't fail by much, just sort of enough that you really, really like feel the physical discomfort of what happens. Feeling this coming up and just sort of instinctually trying to reach out and kind of connect everybody to make your mental defenses greater. And you feel some kind of, it's a very weird prickling sensation that momentarily distracts you from what you're doing. This prickling sensation of something reaching out to the thing you're reaching out with. Like if you were throwing a blanket over the group, someone else is sewing something onto the blanket and making it larger at an incredibly fast pace, obviously. And Dalen is going to take 32 psychic damage. Everyone else takes none. As Dalen takes the brunt of having to be the psychic conduit for this messaging. So, you see this, like, landscape, this sort of barren landscape in your minds. Your eyes kind of fade what they see to darkness. Just kind of imagine yourself as 11 in when she goes into that machine or whatever that the Institute makes, from Stranger Things. This sort of darkness that extends sort of forever around you. But around you are, the rest of the group. Also present is Sorin and Visk. And as you look at the ground in this infinite blackness, you can see it is made of 100 trillion, just an infinite amount of very small interlocking hexagons that interlock into interlocking hexagons that interlock into interlocking hexagons of increasing size. To the point that it's a little painful to like try to look at it because it's not really, the human eye is not really prepared to deal with that many sort of angles presented in this way, it would seem. But in the darkness of this place, you see Visk kind of moving about in a strange way. He seems to like he moves in a jarred kind of, like he doesn't move in a straight line, as if he was like trying to with his feet follow along all of these many small hexagons and everything. And as he moves a little closer to your side of the room and finally gets close to you, he waves his hand, and again in this sort of stilted manner, and the hexagons in the center of the sort of cipher circle that you guys are standing in, the many of them sort of rise up infinitely high into the sky and then start to fall away in places, and what they leave behind is this sort of form like a statue of an alien creature. One that many of you have seen before, though. It is a 6-armed creature wearing this kind of robes that look like they would be flowing if there were wind and if this was not made of some kind of weird obsidian hexagon stone stuff. But it is surrounded on 6 sides by these discs. And it has one arm outstretched to each of them. And rather than sort of words, more like an understanding starts to unnaturally dawn on you that this thing is Hexanimus, or a representation of it, and that it is cloning itself How do you know that? Welcome to the inside of a Mind Flayer's head, I suppose. But each of these 6 discs, they're so to the forefront of your mind. Well, there's 6 of them for a start, and that, rings a bell. And he's reaching out, one with each of his arms, toward this thing, as he's at the perfect geometric center of them. And despite the fact that the thing doesn't move, you sort of understand that its energy is flowing from itself and out into these discs. And in your mind, they start to become like a disc is like an egg that will become another Hexanimus. And as this looks at you, just somehow divining from the look on his face in this weird psychic landscape, it's almost like you can see lines of aging on his, ageless face, like something has been very hard on him. And he, again, by looking at him, you know that this process, this replicating process, has been going on for a long time, and it feels quiet. You feel this patience. You feel like he's been waiting a long time, but in the meantime, you just are struck by this overwhelming silence. You begin to understand that Hexanimus has been sleeping, sort of, for a long time. Cloning himself. Process is a very lengthy one. And on the inside of this psychic landscape, you begin to feel the weight of difficult decisions pressing on Visk. In Visk's hand in this psychic landscape, you can see the skull of the sort of dead creature that once was a Hexanimus, or it would seem. And he clutches it like it's a Bible. And he's a pastor. Like he references it always. And finally, some words from Nisk while looking at the Hexanimus. He says,
We have never spoken. But still he leads me.
soon he will awake. Very, very soon now. God, I wish my voice wasn't trying to abandon me.
Which means the time is nigh.
And it's almost like you get a sort of a warning of what he's about to say before he says it. Well, those of you who read the Discord chat. That's me trying to model this, like, you can almost hear it approaching before it reaches your mind. Like your subconscious comes to an understanding of what's said before you hear it.
It is time to reorder that which was broken before. You cannot understand him. I will be his conduit.
And you can see this creature sort of be again obscured by these hexagonal kind of columns that, you know, they sort of had dropped down to create an image of him, but they shoot back to the ceiling. And as this is speaking, you can see there's a lot of these kind of hexagonal things, you know, bumping up and down to sort of almost create the illusion of image. And you can see of movement, should I say. And you can see it's as if in like really, really slow stop motion animation with its 6 arms, this creature sort of making these carvings, these incredibly intricate carvings. And through this sort of understanding of the situation, as you look at these things, you feel that the intention of the Hexanimus in drawing these is that any child should be able to understand these. So I'll leave these behind. But you see, like, the mathematics of the universe, like, laid out in these, you know, symbols that are slowly kind of being drawn with these sort of, you know, hexagonal columns shooting up and giving you this impression of movement.
If there was ever time, there is none left anymore. After a long slumbering, the work begins in earnest.
And as the columns once again obscure the Hexanimus sort of statue thing that is being shown by them, they sort of remain, these hexagons. They remain in this large, like, hexagonal tower formation. But then just the 2 foremost columns begin to come down, and you begin to feel kind of a little lightheaded and a little woozy as they come down, and your eyes begin to kind of darken to where you can just barely see them coming down, and the light starts to return, and you realize that you are standing in the room, the actual physical room where you were on the astral sea, but in perfect sync with the psychic kind of representation of those columns falling. The pillar at the center of this room, those 2 columns are falling with this kind of hydraulic sort of noise. And in sync, 6 feet, you can hear them step onto this glass substance outside. They come from each side of the column. 6 identical creatures. They're like unclothed. They're naked. There's not really anything to see, to be fair. Just their weird alien physiology. And they take like a clock. As they exit out of this thing, they shift to stand at the 6 corners of the hexagon. And you can see Visk, despite his completely like unreadable face, which shows no emotion. You can see by his posture, he's like, it's like he's trying to get lower to the ground without moving. And in as the having taken sort of their first steps, they only take literally a moment to stand at the corners of this hexagon before they come out from the column and begin to assemble in front of you, one standing in front of each of you. For those of you who did not get a picture of this, shit. Oh god, why didn't I have that up? This was one of the things I was going to use my computer for earlier. I just wanted to show you a picture of one of these things. We'll use this. This is what you see, one standing in front of each of you, minus the black robes as a sort of just a thin, gangly gray body underneath. And in front of your eyes, the tips of each of the fingers on these 6 hands begin to glow softly, such that they seem to leave a trail in the air. And in perfect sync, one in front of each of you, they begin to sort of carve these symbols into the air. And you can feel pricking up in your mind Visk's intelligence trying to be some sort of medium, some sort of conduit for understanding of this. And these symbols, as if they were simple, like, numbers, like, you know, as if it was, if you look at the number 5, it takes your brain 0 time in order to understand that, and you don't think about why you know what 5 means. You just know it. But these, like, things that sort of give you pain to try to, like, put in your brain, and you can feel like someone giving you a spot on the bench as you're trying to, you know, push the weight up. That little bit of weight coming in as Visk tries to sort of lend his mind to all of you guys to act as a sort of a psychic amplifier. But these symbols, so clear and simple as, you know, letters or numbers, begin to, as soon as seeing you, instruct you with a history of what seems like the universe that you live in. As you look at these symbols, you see the meaning of what has happened. It, in a way that it's hard for your brain to parse with, and yet understanding is there. The convergence, trying to bring all the planes into harmony. Everything was disorganized and chaos. The planes were fractured. Reorder them. Perfect unity. Bring all into one. But they were not arrogant. They knew it could fail. So they made a backup plan. The Code of Reversion. The gems on which was saved the state of the universe before they made their attempt. The gems of reversion that will set it all back to the way that it once was. Unmaking the history, starting it all anew. Loading the game as if none of this ever happened. Back to a point in the universe before any of you were even thought of. Letting it all happen freshly. You see the disjunction. How it all failed. How their attempt at the convergence unified all of the planes, not by bringing them into order and harmony, but by connecting them through the astral sea. A rip, a wound that has bled ever since. And here at the Shrine of Sacred Six, here was its epicenter. Then the birth of the gods. The astral sea is necessary for the gods to exist. Without the astral sea, there could be none. The astral sea carries belief and makes it into a manifest energy. If enough people believe in something, enough people worship something, it becomes. It exists. And there will always be some to whom the end is more worth worship than the beginning. In these simple symbols, you see the weight of a great grief that plagues a mind many, many orders of magnitude more complex and evolved than your own. As all of this, all the world's troubles, the existence of the Blackfoot, were the result of a mistake that this thing made. It, and those just like it, that budded from the same one. The symbols all begin to fade away, but not every piece of it leaves. The symbols which represent the gems of reversion, they remain. Like a spark of hope among it all. And then, as they all, in perfect sync, reach up a single finger, they draw a jagged line through the symbol. The gems, too. The gems, too, are gone. There can be no going back. As the symbols fade, it once again draws the symbols that represent the code of reversion, the gems. But as it swipes its hand across the interior of the symbol, it wipes it clean, like an empty vessel. Backups of backups, in case more had to be made. They cannot restore. You understand, they cannot restore the way that it was. But even in those empty gems, there is power. The memory card that held the universe on it, that has been lost. But they do have a spare blank. And upon this, the plan hinges. It draws again. A different symbol in front of each of you. Some of you have had the experience of seeing something quite like this as of very recently. Lynn, specifically, and Spit. If Kudo were here, he would be seeing them as well. The atomic elements that make you what you are. If you were written out as a small string of letters and numbers, this would be it. And in each of you, there is a sickness. In each of you, there is the leprosy that makes you the lepers of time. But like a child whose leprosy has not completely taken them yet, there is a moment where all of the symptoms that will eventually ruin someone with leprosy's life have not taken them yet. And only the immunity to pain is present. You're sick, but your sickness gives you power. all falls away, but that little symbol that seems to represent your sickness and the power that it represents as well. The six then, in unison, retreat a step from you and join to make a pillar of... I don't mean that they stand on top of each other. I more mean that they stand one directly behind another. And now all working in conjunction, they all begin to work together. A great symbol, a simple line with many hash marks laid out in the front. And one set of hands draws at each of these sort of hash marks a symbol which represents some major event. The arrival of Workapeshk, or Caloril, for example. Hezebella's interference in the material world. And many which you don't recognize as well. And yet you feel their significance. And the line, as if of its own volition, begins to drift at the end, like it were loose and caught in a storm. And it begins to drift back, curling toward itself, until eventually it makes a loop. And at the point that it touches with the last set of hands, the Hexanimus audibly claps its hands closed. And at the point where the end and the beginning touch, dismissing it like a puff of smoke, until nothing remains. They begin to reconstruct it, bringing it back to the point where the timeline stretches out and just the end is loose. They draw more symbols representing the fundamentals of the universe. The entity that you know of as the Blackfoot. It is worshipped. Therefore it is alive. But because of the astral sea, the perception of a thing means much. The end of it all, though only a force of nature, a simple fact, is seen by the intelligent races as a hungering void. An animal. Something that can be frightened. And so it is fleeing. And with the timeline hooked around its waist, it runs back toward the start. But if it can be frightened to run toward the start, then it can be frightened to run away. All of the six turn their heads, one to each of you. Once again, the symbols that they draw. The only ones that have yet to disappear are those that represent your leprosy. And with a silent will, the symbols lift to be in front of your eyes. This power that you have. They stare at you, unmoving, unfeeling, it would seem. Their flurry of motion coming to a most definite, sudden stop. You can feel Visk having tried to supplement your intelligences in order to strengthen your minds. Recedes somewhat. But with what remains, the question is left in your minds by him. The question of whether or not you understand. This is not a good time.
These events, they'll keep happening. If the Blackfoot isn't turned away. In itself, I guess, these events, they caused a wound in the astral, which disturbed time, the gods in it. Spawning, I guess, what would be the Blackfoot god?
The presence of Visk feels almost like a hand on the shoulder or a slight pat on the mind to say, yes.
People's own will, there would be an ending through their belief, through a god's power. But that god has a will of its own, and it's afraid, and is willing to go to a place that you would, I assume, be more familiar with. A path that it knows could follow safely.
The 6
You want.
clones of Hexanimus look suddenly at Visk, and he shrinks a bit under their scrutiny, and he says, he seems to lower himself as an apology to this thing, and he says, like, you feel his presence, like almost like an apology. Maybe I could not let you read all of the symbols as you should. A hungering void should remain where it is. Something is interfering. Something that has become one with the void and yet fears it. An interloper.
Mhm. And so, to prevent the inevitable, it starts it back at the beginning.
or it runs from what is just behind it. Like a greyhound chasing its bunny. The bunny cannot outrun the hound. But still it will run as fast as the hound will. It must be turned around.
Be intercepted. How does that fix this, though? Would that not just end it? You said that there isn't any reset.
Not to unmake the mistake. The astral will still be here. But turn the dog and the bunny away. The dog will chase the rabbit back where it came from. You must follow it. And you must kill the rabbit. There, where time is supposed to end. Uncoil the rope and anchor it.
Okay.
I'm more confused now than when we started.
Dalen. It's pretty simple. We're just gonna go hunting rabbits.
Okay. Sure. If I'm understanding correctly, and it is very likely that I am not, our sickness kind of separates us from time, right? So we should, in theory, be able to travel to the end of time and kill the rabbit, or do we have to go backwards? It's very confusing.
Dalen, just stop thinking about it. It makes it much easier. All I heard was we need to kill a rabbit, and I think that's what we should do.
How do we find the rabbit, though?
We hunt it.
At that, the 6 hexanimi, should I say, look in your direction, and it begins to draw a very simple symbol in the air, just one in front of each of them. For this does not need to support your intelligence as much in order to, well, keep your brains from melting out of your ears. The symbols each seem to represent Hexanimus. Leave the finding to it seems to say. It is the rest that is up to you. Once again, they begin to summon up as this tries his best to, reinforce your connection. They begin to summon up the same symbols again, the empty gems of reversion. As if to say that these will get you there.
But we gotta find the gems.
Not you, Disk seems to say. One who you know. one who came here before you. Another leper like us. The Felix Blackwater.
He knows where they're at.
Where's my son?
I'm sorry, Drucken. I thought the last time we ran into Felix, we were trying to beat the shit out of him. And now you're telling us we need to...
I don't think Drog was there for that particular part.
Think
No, he doesn't.
With any luck, he has already obtained them.
Yeah, you set on this path a while ago. I don't know how, but if you remember, why am I thinking of his name? Hobgoblin interact with regularly. Bulgar said that Felix had taken something of his that pertained to all of this. So obviously, he had inkling of knowledge of what was going on here.
His organization is devoted now to the hunting of Blackfoot.
So should we go there?
I think they're coming here.
Oh, great. And does that mean I'm going to see my son?
I assume the answer is yes. I don't think they understand this. He looks to you and he says, I don't understand all of it myself, the nuts and bolts of it, but they're asking you to chase this creature back to where it came from and kill it there. Nothing awaits there. Do you understand? Its realm, this Blackfoot, it is not a place, it is a time. It is the end of time. Drawn back through the ages. Made earlier and earlier. It is the long moment just before the universe breathes its last. But it is our understanding that if you go there, chase it back there, and kill it there, there would be no returning.
If we do that, you're saying that this would be a resolution to what has happened after the convergence, but it wouldn't go back. We would just be gone.
What do you know of time travel, my friend? I assume on your time arriving here, you have learned that it is impossible. If you were not taught that, then someone did not do their job. Only through the Blackfoot is it impossible. He has, if you will, an immunity to continuity. His movements change the length of the timeline. therefore changing its events in some ways. If he were to move back, it would do the same. As long as you stay near to him. You have a resistance, not an immunity, but a resistance to the same continuity. This sickness we all have. Somehow the Hexanimus thinks it would be able to enable you through our sickness, using these gems. To keep a hold of this oiled pig as it runs back across the timescape. As it stretches out the timeline, events would be reordered to the way they were supposed to be. And it could stay that way if it were killed there. But your resistance, in theory, you will be planting a tree whose shade you will never sit in. Do you understand?
I think I do.
There will
Tree
be no
won't be.
returning. Unfortunately, it seems this would be your task alone. I am told that the rest of us have an altogether different task. You seem to have the most personal power, the most individual power of those gathered here. And you know enough. You are sick enough that you can be used for this. Those of us who know more, who have studied it more, we must, we will be your support, if you will. Every army needs supply. This process that will take you through, that will allow you to carry out this task, will not be done on its own. It will be performed by us. To you, the experience will be nearly instantaneous, but to us, there must be some to guard against the ages. To mind as you sleep.
So, if we do end up accomplishing this task, because of this resistance that being near the Blackfoot God would confer, are who we were in the original timeline, would we not exist? Because we were required to be there at the end.
Something would take your place, something very similar to you. But even after we fix this, there are some scars that will remain. Just as the grove of your god. Nothing will ever grow, I don't think, in the dry lake bed that now dwells there. To the universe's reckoning, it will be a tiny scar, a nick, a tiny imperfection. But it will not be the same as it was, not truly. Yet it is the best we have. If we could remove all the scar tissue, we would. But it seems there is a price. And the price is you. That is my understanding.
Look to the others. The solution.
We're all psychically, like, linked into a hive mind right now, right?
Yeah, basically.
This is, you can just feel more than saying anything that from Dalen, it's not even a question. It's just resolution. As if he's not even... If this is what it takes to keep everything, or to fix things, then that's what it is.
I probably shouldn't even be alive right now, so might as well do whatever.
I don't know. I don't know that I'm as resolute. I don't know how one makes a decision like this.
By doing it?
Thanks.
You're welcome.
And in the end, power that we hold, all of us, individually. What use is it? Truly. We can't use it to truly make things right. Things will keep on getting worse. And then if that power slips through our grasp, and we didn't use that power for what it needed to be used for, then all we'll do is die with regrets. We still live on in a way if we do this. We won't exactly be who we are now. We'll still get to live our lives.
It is my understanding that the word responsibility is actually two completely separate words. And because we have the ability, we must respond. I may not have started down this path with each of you, but at some point we were drawn together. And we have come through a great deal together. And if it is the ultimate end for all of us, I can't think of anybody better to die with.
I've felt that way for a very long time. I understand your reproach, Ash. In the end, we've all paid in blood, sweat, and tears to get where we are. We've all put our lives on the line countless times. It was for the power to be free, have our own choices. If we fought and struggled for this power and we now hold it, then I'm going to make the choice to do some good and fix things.
How do we go from having conversations about immortality seemingly yesterday to this? I mean, I've only just really gotten my life to be my own. I've only just really started to live, and now I don't know, this responsibility. I've lived my life to this point being responsible basically for myself, and now I suddenly have to take that on for the greater good and give up everything that everything. How do we
In the
know
end,
that being responsible for everything and everyone else is what we're supposed to do with our lives? Isn't each of us just here to be, to exist, to make the best of what we have?
I think that is true to a certain degree of most people. But for others, it is the cruelest fate of all to be given the power to change fate. To stare the end in the face and say, no, not today. Even if it means the end of me. But yeah, also, nobody's gonna force you to take this ride. And that goes for each and every single one of you. But I'm going.
Drug will go over to you, Ash, and him like it might be hard to think of it this way, but obviously Drog is old enough to he has a son your age, so he is in that sense not your father figure, but a father figure in this kind of sense, and goes, "You know, Ash, things we've been through, number of times we've died, almost died, came back, died again, came back again. We've lived lives that are beyond what most people will ever live with. And we've tried so hard and got so far. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. We have to fall to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't really matter."
I hate you.
Seconded.
I cannot believe how well that lyric fits your situation.
That's Ariel actually just walking away from the game.
No, that
He's
was
like-
me. My dog was eating a packet of butter. So,
Sick.
that was me dealing with that.
Way
But
to
also,
go, buddy.
I need to put a revision in here, and I'm gonna do this so you can mark it. Alternate subtitle: "Oops, all Linkin Park songs."
Fucking hell.
Next campaign, I'm a bard.
Do it.
don't.
From my perspective, I think destiny be damned. I don't care if we're destined to do anything. I don't care if in the end we're supposed to do it. I'd rather make the choice to want to do it. It's the fact that we've gotten this freedom that we can make that choice. I want for my people, for all of you, to be able to live a normal life. Our lives have been this way because of what has happened with this convergence. It has caused more issues for everyone in the world than what was supposed to happen. If we do this, then maybe I get to live a quiet life. Maybe you get to live a quiet life, Ash. And I understand through this adversity, we've gained our power, but that doesn't mean that power can't be gained in other ways.
I am kind of curious what Mothran's take on this is. I mean, he is usually pretty quiet, but
Perhaps now is not the time to hold your peace, my friend.
My take on the end of being the forever heroes. You may know something. I didn't think we could do this forever. I would say. I do think Kudo could live forever. Maybe Len, but I don't think they could, living forever and doing this forever, two different things. I do think Kudo would live on for a long time, doing a lot of not saving the world. No, I was I was pretty sure we were gonna die 1,000 times, so it's ever surprising that we're still here. I'm still shocked we haven't died like 2 years ago or something. Or fucking 20 now, I don't know. Maybe I'm not. I've never been as wise as I put myself out to be.
It's heartwarming to hear that Mothran, who started the game by going, "No, I'm not leaving this tavern. I paid for a room, and all you 150 orcs and a Tanaruk be damned." That he ends in the same way.
oh,
You were just a boy then.
Mothman was 32 years old when that happened.
He's just a baby.
A newborn, even a fetus, barely out the oven.
How does D&D work? Oh yes, I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm a level 1 character who could take on that.
That's an orc, guys.
There's a reason he inspires people, because there is no fear in Mothra Dragonsong.
I think he probably had stopped giving a fuck a long time before the story. It's just a long road of learning to give less and less fucks.
Well then. The Hexanimus suddenly, like, probably in the middle of your conversation, suddenly kind of stand up, like, in sync, and, like, all turn to Visk, and he sort of shrinks away from them, and he says,
Preparations must be made to enact the plan.
I felt compelled to share this, given what Anthony
No
just said.
contaminants.
that is tremendous. So,
What do you think, Ash? Who cares about functional immortality if you can't do anything with it, right?
I just am having trouble making it all make sense. What was the point of all of this then? You said we built up all of this power so that we could make a choice? Been making choices this whole time. And the choice is to undo everything?
Not undo,
Not
restart.
undo. Fix.
How is that different?
Well, the difference being that whatever that's going on right now doesn't seem to be quite right, like a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit. But we could always just make a new puzzle.
I just,
there must...
I don't know, it's been feeling pretty right to me.
He says, that would be, Soren says, it is normal for there to be some misunderstanding in the translation of such complex concepts. It will not be undone as such, more like put back in the right time. These things that you have experienced, it cannot be a coincidence that there are just enough of you to solve them. I predict that in the original time, each of you went through such ordeals, but you did not do so together. For instance, I suspect... Well, let's see. He doesn't actually know that much about you guys. He really doesn't. He looks to Ash's hand, assuming she has made herself visible at some point. He says, that gauntlet you wear, I suspect that you that takes your place must have gotten that as well. Perhaps not with the same group of people, and in a very different time. And this Galaril that you told me of, he too must be there. In some sense or other. I suspect in your own time that you would have defeated him alone. Or perhaps with different help. Perhaps in different circumstances. But the metaphysics of the timeline seems to dictate that things remain close by. The timeline is shrinking, but it is not random, to my understanding.
That's all well and good, and maybe that's correct. I just, I don't, I feel like I'm wasting my breath at this point, but we just got over all, you know, essentially telling each other how much we fucking love each other and really would hate to not be around. And now it's like, okay, well, let's just, you know, who the fuck cares if it's us or some other people from some other timeline or just me by myself fighting these battles? Like, cool. I could have fought this battle probably by myself this time too. And it was probably more fun doing it this way. But if y'all are cool with going about life with a bunch of other new strangers or by yourselves, I'm not gonna be the only one fighting for it.
Ash, do you trust me?
Obviously.
Then I'll find you. Even if I can't remember it. I'll find you in the original time.
Also,
There are some of us that are gonna live for a long time. And I think we're all going to find our own way into each other's hands in some way, shape, or form.
for what it's worth, I'm obviously not the most intelligent person in this group, but based on the information we've gotten over the last couple of days, I think I'm originally slated to fight Fairtorax. And if that's the case, then it probably stands to reason that I founded the Iron Man of Whitestrake, or some sort of variation of that. And if that's the case, then Caloril being one of Fairtorax's lieutenants means that at some point you and I probably ran into each other. You probably took up the mantle after me. Which means, to a slight degree, you at least know of me. So, I don't know. I'm kind of heartened by that fact.
Honestly, it's made this more difficult for me. That wounded my heart, Ash. You have a pretty steely demeanor. I never imagined you felt that way.
Why the fuck do you think I've stuck around for this long? You know that I'm capable of being
Because I keep
anywhere
on
at any
bringing.
time. I can do anything at any time, anywhere with anyone. I don't
But you
have to
stuck
be
around
here. I'm
because I
choosing
kept
to
on
be
bringing
here.
you back to life.
Oh, please. I could be very comfortable Riverjoin somewhere else. I could have cloned myself a long time ago. I have my soul's hidden in other places. It's not the point. The point is that I'm here, and there's a reason for that. And I don't know. I guess, still reconciling this. We're all here together doing this by accident, and we need to make that accident right. And now maybe all hearing from you that we might still find a way to come together. It's all very confusing and making me think that there might be some amount of learning that I still need to do about all of this stuff, but
But it's not
doesn't.
Why I'm in
accident.
that exact same boat.
If anything,
I
this is
guess it-
kind of. Sorry, Lynn. Go ahead.
No, you're right. I guess it's not really an accident we know each other. I mean, our personalities seem to attract each other, even in a messed up timeline. So I would hope that in this original timeline, I think things will be similar. I think it just won't be the same. I think we'll have to go through our trials and tribulations, maybe not with the same exact people. But I think in the end, we at least get to know each other.
I'm gonna say something real cheesy, but maybe the bonds that we have forged echo through time, and we just love each other that much that we always find each other.
That's cheesy.
I told you it was gonna be
That's
cheesy.
real cheesy, man.
See, this is
I saw that one.
what
And that's when
happens
Drog is
Kudo
like, cheese?
leaves.
What?
No, Drog would probably say something along the lines of, Ash, other than Kudo and Mothrin, I've known you the longest here. And you can do whatever you want. I've no hard feelings one way or the other, really. But I remember when we first met that you were just a little girl trying to find out. I mean, little. You were just a girl trying to understand magic to deal with this looming threat that you had. But along the way, we dealt with the Tanaruk. We ended up in Pomedia. We've met some people along the way. All this stuff. I mean, he is kind of. And you've been fortunate enough to amass not only great power, but whether or not you wanted to, you became a queen. You killed a dragon that held sway over you. You essentially are free to do whatever you want. But what use is that freedom if you have this thing in the back of your head knowing that you're not truly free?
And in the end, our lives may be cut
It-
even shorter
Yes, in
because
the
of
end, it
what
doesn't
may
even
happen.
matter. As I said,
Things-
I was sorry.
If things keep on going as they have been, it may be true. We may live a shorter life than we actually were supposed to.
Well, I did start this whole journey in pursuit of my freedom. I guess I just thought I had found it and felt really good for all of 1 second that it was allowed to exist, and just to be told that it's really not real after all. I can't argue with the logic, but I mean, I can't be mad about it.
Of course you can. Like your friends are saying, it seems you have earned the freedom to be upset.
Yeah, and you know what? This thing may be super smart, but just use that newfound freedom that when all this is said and done, come find him and blow him up, since all of this is apparently his fault.
Well, I think we can all be rest assured that no matter what timeline we're in, I will be blowing plenty of
Shut up.
people, places, and things up.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
That's not going to change.
It stands to reason that if this is all done, he will be our enemy. He would certainly be one of mine. Frankly, looking at it now boils my blood. You are not wrong, Ash. And your words echo those that my friends have told me, those who departed this life, who wanted to live on without this hanging over them. It was their choice. And as I respected theirs, I'm sure your friends would respect yours. But to say that you can't be mad about it is just wrong. How do you think I get through my life here? By being furious at that thing. Even as he...
That constant state of hatred.
You know, Soren, there's only been one other dragon that I've liked, but now I can say that there are two.
Who said that I'm a dragon? So, wait, sorry.
He says with shifty eyes.
Old habits. Tap the knee with the hammer and the leg will kick. I can't help it.
You did.
I know it seems petty, but somehow it seems like that the Hexanimus should muster up some kind of thank you or apology. But I do not expect one to come.
I don't know if it's really capable of it.
Perhaps not. Although it certainly seemed capable of screwing everything up. You know, talking of freedom, I think this is the first time I have ever spoken all of that out loud.
I'm glad.
It doesn't help an organization that you work for to cause strife and misgivings about its leadership. But it's too late now for it to matter. I suppose there's freedom in that too.
If it makes you feel better, Ash, technically we will be mortal. We're going to be living until the end of time.
Hooray.
And until your task is complete, I imagine you will inspire many legends. You see, your bodies will persist, although you will be unconscious for most of it. Across time, housed in what I can only describe as a temporal bubble covered contraption. You will be like the legendary buried hero who awaits for the monster to awake. Break glass in case of apocalypse. An apocalypse that will never come. At least as far as the rest of the universe is concerned. I think I'm going to go and speak to my old friends. We have very little time, it would seem, but I think they should know.
You think they would allow us a moment to do the same?
I do not think that they can stop you from doing anything. Their plan hinges entirely on you. But as it happens, I believe that they need to make preparations. For one thing, they will need to contact this Felix and summon him here. And, well, there are some other things as well. This is not an easy process, exactly. Rigging up these coffins for you all. I don't know what else to call them. You're going to sleep in them until the end of time. Sounds like a coffin to me. A very fancy coffin with a gemstone, but I will wait a little while. I will tell them you have departed, but that you will be back. And then I will depart as well. I would not respect any of you less, whatever decision you made. But as it stands right now, know that I hold each of you in the highest regard. It's nice having people that you can look up to again. I don't exactly like my boss. Well, I will give you some space. Although we should probably do it outside of here. You can just see that the six Hexanimus are like mentally assaulting the Illithid. They're like surrounding him, and you can just see his brain is like basically computing a bunch of information that they're like downloading. He's never spoken to this thing before, by the way. If you guys recall, it just woke up, started ordering people around, and going, "You brain."
I gotta say, if it's making an Illithid do that, I can only imagine how fucked up it would leave like a regular humanoid.
Yeah, stay away from my brain.
Well, remember, him just trying to communicate with a dead one of these is what broke him free of the Elder Brain's influence and rewired his brain into this weird 6 syllables at a time. Like, his whole synapses are like hexagon shaped now. So yeah, not a good idea to talk to that thing directly, hence the use of these symbols, which any child could read.
Sure.
So, maybe we leave it there till next time, where you guys say your goodbyes. It might be helpful if you guys tell me people who you want to say goodbye to, because if there's someone I haven't checked in on a while, I don't know, it just might come off weird or stilted.